If you don't already know me, I handed out something that gives you information about my bio. Pretty much all you need to know is my specialty is improving business performance, whether that's for large companies or individual consultants or professionals, helping them, how do they expand their business, how to become more well-known, how can they go from charging $50 an hour to $5,000 a day? You know, how do they do that? And so a lot of my programs, like I said, I work with individuals, professional services, consultants, but then also from a company standpoint, that's where I mainly started. How do I help companies improve their business from improving sales, attracting new customers? How do they do that? And within that came a lot of my workshops on professional development. So I might work with a sales team on how they're presenting their product to customers, or a CEO that needs to be more out in the limelight. What do they need to do to be seen more as that thought leader and really raise the status of the company? And what happened is I was putting together a lot of workshops for these companies, and someone came with the brilliant idea, why don't you put it into a book? It'd be much easier, which actually turned into how to become a top performer. And that's pretty much what this keynote presentation is. 30 minutes, 216 pages, all condensed down into what are some of the key things you need to know. So if you want to learn more about them, you got to read the book. Isn't that funny how that works? Isn't this great? I got some in my car. Or as my kids say, my dad sells books. No, I wrote a book. I don't just sell books door to door. So really, why are we here today? I want to talk to you about what are the characteristics of top performers. You know, what are those key characteristics? Now, before you start yelling out the answers, you're wrong. Okay? It's not the most intelligent person. All right? It's not the hardest worker, which is really hard for someone who's very analytical, engineering, computer science. We always work 12 hours a day. You know, I'm focused on my work. I'm a very hard worker. Is that going to elevate my status within my company? No. Doesn't work that way. Is it going to help my business? I might have a good product, but you know what? I might not be getting any sales because I'm focused on my product. Is it the most sensitive, emotional, you know, heartwarming person? No, they're not the top performers. Innovative, all these answers are wrong. From my perspective, and I'm right, by the way, because I'm up here. I'm right. I tell her every day, and she tells me to shut up. Just go to the other room. Yep. To me, top performers are master communicators. All right? And this is going to be the most non-technical presentation you've had today. So if you are expecting me to talk about Twitter, I'm not. All right? It's going to be very low-key, old school. I'm taking you back to old school, okay? Yes. Now you can apply it to the new technology, but let's get back to basics here. Top performers, master communicators. What I'm going to do is quickly go through what I think are the 30 most important secrets of becoming a top performer. What's that?
That's not number one?
No, that's not number one. That is just the over-encompassing master communicator.
Okay.
Now, what does that mean? Now I'm going to tell you what that means. All right? Also, these are very well known. You're going to say, well, duh, I already knew that. But when you look at this list, think to yourself, yeah, you know it, but how well do you implement it? Do you do it yourself? And what you're going to find is you're probably not, or not doing as well as you want to, and you need to improve that. So even though you say, hey, I already know this, think deep inside yourself. Are there ways you can improve? Number one, inspires and motivates an audience. Whether it's talking one-on-one with somebody or talking to a room of 1,000 people. Right? They're comfortable up talking in front of people. They've put together a presentation or an idea that's very structured, leading the person to inspire them to do something, to take action, motivates them, that at the end of their presentation they go, I need to do something. I need to buy it from you, or I need to go do something myself to improve what I'm doing. They learn how to do that. They inspire and motivate. It's just not, I'm going to give you the facts, here they are. all right? They're very comfortable talking to 1 or 1,000 people. Number 2, persuades others to their point of view. I'm going to persuade you by the end of this that communication is the #1 skill you need to learn to be a top performer. So when they're talking, well, like I said, one-on-one or to groups, they're able to persuade you, even if you're against what they're saying. By the end of that conversation, they've kind of turned you around. And it's a skill you've got to learn. You know, how do you convert someone from a naysayer to, wow, I believe in it? Number 3, they prepare and rehearse. They don't shoot from the hip. Whether it's a simple introductory meeting, all right, they might have gone out and looked at your blog, looked at your profile, looked at your company, learned a little more about you. So when they come talk to you, they've got some more information than they would. And they can start talking about, hey, I heard you're a great, a golf enthusiast. Hey, have you ever played such and such? They prepare. Whether it's for a presentation, they just don't come in and start talking. They prepare for it. Whether it's a phone call, a presentation, do some kind of preparation or rehearsal. So you're smoother, all right? And you're not just starting to say things that have no relevance. So these top performers, they will prepare and rehearse for everything. Now, think about how well do you do that? Did you prepare for this meeting today? Did you have the business cards with you? Did you look at who the speakers were or who's attending? Keeps it short and sweet. Nothing's worse than you coming in as an expert and you're talking for hours about the topic. Or you prepare a presentation for your customer. They've asked you to do some work. And all of a sudden you come in with this 100-page binder. Let's start at page 1 and let's review everything. No, they're going to start tuning you out and kind of putting you aside of, hey, he's more of a pain than he's worth. Keep it short and sweet. Get to the point. So when you're talking with clients, when you're talking to an audience, get to your point very quickly. All right? You can have supporting documentation later if they want to understand more about how did you come to that conclusion, why are you making those recommendations. Well, here, you can look at this 100-page report later. But to keep it short and sweet. And we'll get into technology. Blogging, okay, short and sweet. What are you trying to tell me? What do I need to do? 5, prefers simple over complex. They like to make things very simple, simplify things. If I was going to tell you how to improve your business, it's not follow these 100 points. No, let's talk about these 5 main points here. All right? A sales process. I work with a lot of companies that their sales process is 55 steps, and they go through step by step. No, can we shorten that to a more reasonable amount to keep the process simple for your customers? Let's simplify everything we do. So these top performers, they learn how to take complex ideas and make them very simple. And utilizing visualization techniques. Bring a product with you. Show people. Let them touch it, feel it. Whether you make a widget, you write a book, if you're a graphic artist, do you have some work that you've done with you? They're able, when they talk to you, they show you so you can actually see it. Link my words to a product. They're very good at doing that because that helps them with the whole, how do you persuade someone? By showing them. A lot of consultants I work with, I tell them, put your picture on everything. Okay, so when people hear your name, all of a sudden that picture of you comes up in their mind. And they're more likely to say, hey, you know what, I should give Dennis a call. And so throw your picture everywhere. Business cards, website, anywhere you can. Make it more visual for them. Keeping everybody focused. How many meetings or discussions you're in, and all of a sudden you start talking about 10 different topics, not any relevance to your business or what you're trying to get done. What they're able to do, top performers can keep a group focused on their topic, what they want to get done. And what that helps them make a better decision, helps them look to you as the expert. That top guy, like, wow, he really does get it, and at the end we can make a decision. So they work on keeping everybody focused. Don't let things get out of control. makes a good impression. Whether it's the way they're speaking, the language they use, how they dress, they make a good impression. So if I'm working with a Fortune 50 company, I'm not going to walk in my sandals and jeans and say, hey, yeah, I'm the expert, you're hiring me. No, I'm sorry, I'm going to wear a nice suit and I'm going to meet with these executives. You know, it's sad to say, impressions are very important. So even, I don't care, like I said, how smart you are and what you've done with yourself, the product you've created, even if it's the greatest thing in the world, you really need to show that good impression for people. So it is important. Master at planning meetings. And actually, I go through a whole seminar series on how to actually plan and run a meeting. And it is amazing just how bad people run meetings. But if you can sit there and whether it's your clients and a customer and say, okay, here's the meeting we're going to have, and if you set it up properly, like tell them what they need to know before they come, bringing the right people, having it well organized, having it focused on no more than 3 items, you know, by doing that, people are looking to you as more of like, wow, they must be an expert because look how well they've had this organized. So top performers, they know how to plan for that meeting. They also are masters at facilitating that meeting. Once again, yeah, they keep it simple, they don't let it get out of control, they keep it focused. So they might be hosting the meeting or they're attending meetings, they can keep everything focused on what are you trying to do? What are the objectives of this conversation? They keep it focused on that. What's the outcome we want to see? And they make sure that everything leads to that outcome. So, you know, think about some of the people you know who've run really well meetings. Do you look at them and say, wow, you know, that's someone I want to either follow or I want to do, or wow, they must know what they're doing. Because everything, what they planned, the end result was, wow, we actually made a decision. So it's very important when you're with clients to be able to do that. Understanding personality types. You know, the domineering personality to the more analytical who needs to see the data, to more of a creative personality type who's kind of wishy-washy and oh, I want to start this and go over here. Well, you know, you as a business owner or a consultant, you need to understand how to work with each one of those personality types, which many times is going to conflict with your own. So if you're a very analytical, detailed, precise, you're not going to work well with that creative person because they're not going to care about all that detail you put down. So you need to change your philosophy of how you deal with that customer to take what you do but provide them, you know, the information they need from that creative standpoint. So you need to understand those personality types and how to work with them. Much more better off because then you're going to have everybody going, instead of engineers just liking you, everybody's going to say, wow, that's the person I want to work with, just because you know how to deal with that personality type. Stop using technical jargon, especially you technical people. Use words that anyone can understand. Keep it simple. Think of it as you're talking to your 5-year-old. All right? Break everything down into a simple concept that you explain using English language words, very small, 2-syllable. Keep it simple. All right? No technical jargon. And I mean, even in your website content, your blogs, there's a place for the technical stuff on a technical page. But when you're talking to customers and when you're talking about what you do, keep it very simple that they can understand. Use positive words whenever you're talking, whether it's to a group, whenever you're writing. Use positive words. When you're looking at it, think about it when someone's talking very negative, does that kind of bring you down and you start thinking more negative thoughts? But if you're talking to someone that's very cheerful, they're always talking positive, it's fantastic, I'm enthused, you know, everything, all of a sudden they become uplifted and they start looking to you as, wow, when I talk to them, I always feel good. So I want to do more business with them. So start thinking about that. How do you talk to people? Talk positively. Learn to be a great storyteller. One of the best ways to inspire people, to convince them to your way, is to weave a lot of your information into stories. You know, let me tell you about the time I was at Cook's Forest, and lead into a story that leads to the point you're trying to get across. Or tell stories more like case studies about what you've done in the past. Maybe not use the actual customer, but give them a story about, hey, their problem was this over here, and we transformed it, and now look at them. They're 4 times the size they are. And this is what they did. Instead of just spewing out facts, start telling more stories. Be that storyteller. If you're not good at it, start practicing it. I practice it with my kids all the time. You know?
Mirrors work wonders.
Not for me. I can't stand looking at myself in the mirror. What are you talking about? Another one, a business journal. And this is a concept that I never understood for a long time. Just writing in a journal. It's kind of like a diary when you were younger. But no, it's just a business journal. Whether it's a leather-bound book, a notebook, spiral, always keep it with you. When you have a new idea, you know, you're jotting it down. When you meet somebody new, you start talking to them, jot their name down, kind of some of the things you observed. It's very important to have that information because, you know, if you're like me, 30 seconds after I leave this building, I've probably forgotten everything. But it's nice to go back to say I've got it written down. So some very successful people, they have these diaries. You know, I call them a business journal, where they're just logging everything. So they never lose track of what their new ideas they have, thoughts that they wanted to work on tomorrow, or information about people. Because it's very important to go back and go, hey, you know what? I met you 9 months ago, and they're like, I don't remember. Oh yeah, we were at, you know, this co-working event, and we sat there and we had to listen to this Dennis Summers speak right before the beer, and you know, be able to talk about that.
Before happy hour.
Yeah. Always say thank you. Very simple. How many people actually do it? Think about things you've purchased, and you know, you as a customer, how many people have ever come back to you and said, you know, I really appreciate your business. I want to thank you. Or how many people have sent you a handwritten note of a thank you? Very few people do it. If you do it, you've got to continue doing it. It's very important. It's very effective.
Yes.
So many.
It's much better than an email, thank you.
Better than an email. It's that handwritten. I just want to thank you. I want to thank you for the meeting today. You know, I have more customers come back to me and say, wow, you know, I haven't received a thank you note in 5 years. Or they might pull it out of their desk. Hey, I still have it from 3 years ago. When you're writing reports to customers, sending emails, you know, are you getting results from those memos and reports that you're sending? You really got to look at how are you structuring anything you write. It should be well structured, limited on focus, and have an action at the end. Something's got to happen. If you didn't want a response from a customer or you didn't want something to happen, why did you send the report? Why did you send the email? Top performers just don't write things that just keep going on, and there's nothing at the end. There's got to be something. So if you learn how to structure your memos and reports to be very action-oriented, you're going to get results, and people are going to start saying, hey, when I get something, you know, from John, I need to read it because there's going to be something in it for me, and I've got to do something. You don't want them to say, oh, delete it or throw it in the trash. Ask open, indirect questions. Stop asking questions that get a yes or no response, because that limits you. And basically, you're leading them pretty much. If you start looking at how you ask people questions, if they're yes or no, you're leading them down a path that you want them to go. It's much better to ask more open questions. What do you think about this? And let them explain what they need, what they want, how they feel. Be more open with your questions. So when I'm sitting there and I'll start talking to companies and having them interview me and how they talk to customers, you know, it's kind of like get that horn out. Every time you ask me a yes or no question, I'm like, I'm not going to answer it. Go on to the next question, and let's see how many questions they actually ask me where I can actually explain what I want. So start thinking about that. You'll start getting them to open up more, you'll learn more about your customers, and you'll be able to better service them by asking those indirect questions. Listen effectively. I don't know about you guys, but a lot of people think they're very successful because they talk all the time. They're in a meeting, 95% of the meeting is them talking. They're in a conversation, 90% of the time they're talking. All right, that means nothing. That makes them feel better. And yeah, some people might say, well, hey, they're doing all the talking, they must be the expert. No, the better thing is let the other person talk 90% of the time, you talk 10% of the time. That leads to asking them, the time you're talking, ask them open questions so they keep talking. You can learn a lot more. You can always come back later to say, hey, based on our conversation, here's how I think I can help you out. Because you've gathered a lot of information. Now, when you're listening, you actually got to listen to what they're saying. You can't let them talk and be thinking about, man, I got my kid's softball game tonight, and this weekend we're going out boating, and oh yeah, what did you say? Yeah, keep going on. No, you actually have to sit there, watch their lips, hear what they're saying. And you got to keep practicing that. Top performers are also open to new ideas. They don't have preconceived concept of, here's how I think a business should be run. Here's my concept on blogging. All right? They're open. They want to hear input. They like conflict. When you're in meetings, a lot of times people will be saying, hey, I don't agree with that, we're going to go this direction. Or they hire people that are more of the same mindset as them. Top performers are the ones that they can get a group together of 5 people that can't agree on anything. But once they all start talking, the end result is probably the best concept ever to come out of any group, because you have conflicting ideas that come together. So top performers embrace that. They're open to these new ideas. Reads body language. Not the ones that are just sleeping and snoring, they're pretty obvious, but just in general conversation. Are people more defensive, kind of tucked away? Are they very open to your ideas? So they read the body language and they can start redirecting their conversation. So if they're maybe talking and starting to see someone that's becoming uncomfortable, they might change the topic to get them to open up more. So start learning to read body language of the people you're talking with, and you'll be more effective. Most objections you're going to get from customers, you've already created. It's not, and a lot of us will say, well, hey, the customer didn't like my idea, they didn't like my pricing, it's their problem. I don't know what their problem is, they're crazy. It's probably something that you've done along the way that has caused that objection. So top performers are the ones that they understand they understand more about their customer up front. As they're talking with them, they're not leading them down the road of starting to put up these barriers to objections, whether it's pricing, your methodology on how you work. They learn to read the situation and eliminate those objections up front. And it's a very, once again, you can go sit 2 hours and talk about how do you eliminate objections. But it's something to think about. Are you getting objections from your customers? Pricing is a big one. So if you sit there and go, you know what, every single customer I go to wants a discount. Well, why are they having that objection? There shouldn't be an issue with your pricing if you positioned it well enough up front. So you need to go back and say, okay, now how do I better handle that situation so I eliminate those objections up front? Top performers do that. Turn weaknesses into strengths. Another very important. I don't care if you're a one-person show and you go and talk to a Fortune 50 company, of course, one of the problems they're going to have is, hey, you're a small company, you're a one-person show. Hey, I'm a big company, I want to see a global support system. Top performers can turn that around and go, no, that's the reason why you need me. You don't want these bigger firms. And here, me as a one-person show, here's why you need to use me. So they turn their weaknesses into strengths. All of us have them. Whether you're small, whether you're big, whether you're technology-oriented or very creative and don't do any technology. All right? What are those weaknesses? Now, how can you turn those around and take advantage of that? Gets to decision makers. Top performers don't get held up with gatekeepers. Whether it's the reception desk, whether it's the executive assistant, whether it's middle management, whether it's the engineering guys that want you in there all the time, but they never make the decision. Top performers bypass all that and get right to the decision maker. So you as a business owner, who buys your products? Who is that? A CEO? Is it a president? Is it a CFO? Is it a CIO? Production manager. Who is that buyer? Top performers, they go directly to that person. They get in those doors, and they avoid the gatekeepers. This kind of leads to a lot of things we talked about today. Blogging. Top performers are thought leaders, and they promote that thought leadership. And whether it was for publicity, they share that knowledge with everybody. And they're always thinking, is there a better way to sell technology products? Well, maybe they come up with a new way. Well, you know what they do? They share that, whether it's in an article, in a blog, personal letters to their clients. They make themselves they don't keep it to themselves. They don't say, wow, I came up with this great idea, and I'm not going to share it with anybody. They don't do that. They openly share it with everyone. Provide superior customer service. They're focused on the customer. How can I better serve that customer? If the customer needs to talk to me at 9 o'clock at night, they make themselves available at 9 o'clock at night. They help them out in every way possible. The customer is the lifeblood of any business. Now, and that could be just internally. If you're a production manager, who do you service within the company? Do you make yourself available? And knows how you become a top performer. You focus in on your customers and you help them out. Focuses on customer value. What value do you bring to the customer? Now that could be, I help customers increase sales revenue. I help them reduce their expenses. I help them mitigate the risks in the technology environment. Whatever that value is, your whole business is focused in on how do I better provide that to my customers. And everything they do is focused in on that customer value. That's their main focus point. That's the most important thing to anybody. Whether you're a consultant, run a company, it's you're providing a service to a customer, you're adding value, so everything you do should be focused in on that. Everything else, irrelevant. You know yourself. You know what you're best at. You know what products and services you provide, how it helps the customers. But that's not the end-all, be-all. You also got to know more about the industry. You also got to know about your competitors. Top performers are the ones that can go into a customer who they've never done business with, and all their competitors are in there, and they can sit there and go, I can talk about Joe's product over here, and here's what it's doing for you. And yeah, it's a great product, but here's how we do it a little differently. They know everything about the industry, their competition, and their own products. Once again, it's that thought leader. So whenever you get a customer that says, well, I've got a technology issue, well, they want to know your name. You want your name to be popping up going, wow, he knows pretty much everything about the industry. Let me give him a call first and see what he thinks I should do. So you want those people calling you because you are that thought leader and you know your competition and industry. Build strong relationships. It's not, hey, Mr. Customer, thanks for spending $50,000 with me. That was great. Let's go. I'm going to go with my next customer. No, they're looking to build long-term relationships. Very important part of the process is building that connection with your customers, lifelong relationships. And there's just key things to do to build that relationship. It doesn't take much time. Keep connections with them. But you got to focus in on that. Build a relationship with your customers. Practice self-promotion. This gets into the whole blogging, podcasts, writing a book. Get yourself out there. Share your content with as many people as you can. Don't try and self-contain it and say, okay, I'm going to try and sell this to companies one-on-one. All right? Share your knowledge. And always just be promoting yourself. Because that's all a business is. You're promoting yourself. You promote your business. So everything is promote, promote, promote. 30 items. Very simple. All right? A lot of them well known. okay? But when you start taking a look at that list, start thinking about how can I do better at, and starting tomorrow, pick one, all right? Start seeing how that works for you. Can you build better relationships with your customers? Can you provide a little better customer service? Should you start speaking in front of groups like this? Like go, hey Kelly, next time you have one of these daily meetings, I'd love to speak about a certain topic.
That's how I got here.
Start doing that. Start feeling comfortable talking with an audience and just go out and do it. Like I said, 30 items there, focus in on a couple, and just keep moving on. And the next thing you know, you're that $1 million consultant. One-man show, making $1 million a year.
Alan Weiss.
Yeah, exactly. Love that. It's the Bible.
Yes. Although he's gotten kind of pompous lately.
And always be a hunter. Be aggressive. I've got hats made up, hunt now or be eaten later. It's kind of like when I do work with clients, it's kind of the club you join, hunt now or be eaten later. Always be aggressive. Always think of yourself as the lion. That's it.
Awesome.
I don't know if you have any questions, and you've got my phone numbers there. I am open anytime. If people have questions, give me a call. My email's on my website too. I've got cards. Feel free to give me a call. And if you need anything, I'd love to help out.